Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the NWR Investor Conference Series 11. I'm your host, Banjo Blake, and our last presentation for the conference today will be from PainChek. PainChek is an Australian-based company that develops pain assessment technologies. Pain often goes unrecognised and undertreated in people with communication difficulties. So the company seeks to mitigate this issue with the PainChek Universal product, which is a clinically validated smartphone-based medical device that enables the best practice pain assessment for all people everywhere. To talk about the company is Managing Director and CEO, Philip Daffas. Philip has over 20 years global experience in business development in the medical device market and joined PainChek in 2016. Without further ado, I'll hand over to Philip when you're ready.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. It's good morning from here from me and in the UK. My day's just starting and I think your day's coming to a close. So I appreciate you taking the time to stay the distance and listen to the PainChek quarterly update and investor update. Quick disclaimer, everything I'm covering today obviously has been provided already. It's mostly from the quarterly report that went out last week. And also this presentation I'm giving today has been posted on the ASX for those who want to review it afterwards. For those who don't know the PainChek story, yes, as mentioned, we're a pain assessment technology using artificial intelligence and a SaaS platform to deliver pain assessment for those who cannot verbalize. It's mostly through smart devices and it's used in multiple markets. Key milestone for us is we've now achieved more than 126,000 contracted beds across 1,500 facilities, and that includes a 60% share of the market in Australia, and we're accelerating use in UK and New Zealand as we talk. We've got strong revenue growth in the last quarter, 66% up in the previous quarter, and as we transition, we've got a whole series of government-funded beds. As we transition those onto full implementation, onto commercial subscriptions, we'll expect to see around 4.3 million ARR within the next 12 months. And that excludes any additional new business in Australia, in overseas markets, in home care, in hospitals. So we're on this fast track now to commercialization and commercial revenues. The product's regulatory cleared in multiple markets, and we've got patents granted in multiple markets as well. The goal for us as a company is to be a global business, and that's very important. We're a global business and we're actually on that track right now. So as you're probably aware, pain assessment is very difficult. It's difficult at the best of times, but it's even more difficult for those people who cannot reliably verbalize or communicate their pain. And that's really in two extremes, as people living with dementia and cognitive impairment who have lost those abilities to communicate effectively. And on the other extreme, it's very young children, pre-verbal children who haven't yet built those communication abilities. The size of the opportunity is significant. There's 57 million people living with dementia, growing to 150 million by 2050. That's equivalent to the size of the number of people living with diabetes. So it's a large market. And people with dementia triangulate effectively from living in an aged care facility, sometimes to their home, or back and forth, and more than a third of hospital beds are occupied typically by people living with dementia. So our opportunity is to really bring PainChek into the home, into the aged care, and into the hospital sector. We're already very, very strong in aged care, and those two other markets are expanding. The pre-verbal children market it dwarfs the size of the adult market. There's 400 million pre-verbal children at any one time. And we see the opportunity here in hospitals, in special care baby units, maternity units, but also see an enormous opportunity with mums and dads to bring PainChek as a simple and effective pain assessment tool into the home environment. As mentioned before, our universal product, the adult, was our first product to market. It's the one we've commercialized to date. This technology incorporates three things: the PainChek app, which is the pain assessment technology using AI to assess pain, using the camera technology in phones and mobile devices, and document pain for those who can't communicate at the point of care. We've also incorporated what we call the numeric rating scale, which allows carers to actually document pain for those people who can verbalize or report their pain, making it a universal pain assessment tool. And we've also now got our analytics tool, which we provide to our clients to actually provide them and us with greater insights as to how pain assessment is being managed and give them better opportunities to manage their pain for their residents and patients better. The business model, as I said before, is a SaaS business model. We provide annual licenses to our clients, and those annual licenses are based upon the number of beds or the number of end users. I'm not going to go through this slide in detail, but in summary, I'll go through this in more detail in the next slides. But in summary, our key achievements are implementing and transitioning our existing licenses into the commercial contracts, and that's the 4.3 million target we have for next year. Secondly is extending our reach into new geographies, such as the UK, New Zealand, and North America. And thirdly, expanding into what we call new markets, and that's home care, hospitals, and for the infants. So I'll touch on those as we go through this presentation. This is some of the highlights from Australia and New Zealand. And what I haven't touched on here is the fact that we've continued to get new sales in Australia, including Australian Unity in the last month, 1,200 beds, new agreements. So these are going on top of our current business. But in the meantime, we've also started to use this base to expand into new markets. We signed an agreement with Somerset Care, the third largest aged care provider in New Zealand, again for close to 1,200 beds. And that sale was done totally remotely. We've not visited New Zealand due to the pandemic. We ran the pilot from Australia. We trained all their staff from Australia, and then we negotiate the contract remotely. So that gives you an idea of how this business can be transitioned globally for our digital capability. Joondalup Health was our first hospital client. They're part of the Ramsay Healthcare Group, and that can expand across the group as we leverage into their utility in the hospital sector. Finley Regional Care was our first home care client. And as you've heard before, we also do have Nolson as our first disability client. So what you can see here is that we're extending using Australian base into new countries, and we're expanding into new markets. And ironically, the home care market and the hospital market we see as being significantly larger markets than our current aged care business. Our partnerships are important to us. We've got 14 partnerships with care management systems and medication management systems who've integrated our technology into their platforms. And that's given us access to over 180,000 beds in these markets, which means that we can work with these partners to expand our reach into the aged care sector. I'll come back to MPS in another slide. I've been based here in the UK for the past 6 weeks. We've really started to make some really good progress in the UK. We've got more than 5,000 beds now contracted with a very strong pipeline. That pipeline includes government-funded pilots in Scotland and Wales. And if those go to plan, we've already started with 1,000 licenses in Wales, and that can actually roll out to across 100,000 beds in those markets. The total UK market is 440,000 beds, which is double the size of Australia. We've also got sales now in England with Care UK and Cedar Care, and our first Irish sale in Southern Ireland with Grace Healthcare. Similar to Australia, we've got a number of integrations working, which has given us access now to actually up to 275,000 beds across the UK. And we've been building recently partnerships with pharmacy providers to building what we call our medication technology and to provide retail access for both our infant and adult products. A couple of quotes on the right-hand side talks about how PainChek is reducing the use of antipsychotics in aged care through Cheryl Baird in the UK, and also Louise Rowley, our first user of PainChek, actually talks about the fact that using PainChek provides them with evidence to show that pain is high, and they can use that as evidence to their GPs to change the medication, which they've never been able to do before prior to PainChek. So significant progress. In terms of revenue, as I said before, 66% growth over the previous quarter. So that's over in terms of revenue. That's all been driven by translating or transitioning government-funded users to commercial subscriptions. And we've also now got more than $500,000 in annual revenue. Other income to come includes the R&D rebates and the government grants this year. As we roll out to more clients, you can see that actually we're training more people. We've now trained more than 8,500 clients digitally. And we've now achieved on the right-hand side, the utility of the product continues to increase each month and each quarter. We've got more than 1 million, we've had more than 1 million pain assessments conducted using PainChek clinical assessments in aged care facilities, and now obviously in some of these new markets. So the utility is looking very strong. This gives us sort of a summary as to how we're transitioning those beds we talked about earlier. So you can see on the left-hand side here, we've now got 66,000 contracted and implemented beds, of which 1,26,000 of those are actually paying, and 39,000 are in that transition, moving off the government grants onto paying. If we complete those as planned, that will give us a 3.2 million ARR over the next period. So that's our initial focus on transition those implemented beds onto full contracts and increasing our ARR. If you, sorry, go back one. If you then look at our goal of the longer term periods, we know how well we're converting clients. We know that we're getting a roughly 97% renewal for those clients who are commercial and then renew for next year. There's a really 97% renewal success there. And we're getting about 80% conversion of the government funded trials to commercial subscriptions. So if you take that into account and just give it a reasonable factor, that should take us to a 4.3 million ARR just for Australia, just for those beds for over the next 12 months. I repeat one thing, that does not include overseas markets, does not include new markets like home care and hospital and disabilities, and does not include infants. So this is just transitioning existing contracts and clients onto full commercial terms. This is a summary of our partners, and I raise this because there's a significant number of partners. These partners provide us access in these markets to over 470,000 aged care beds. Integrating with these partners means that we have a very, very, very good system. We conduct PainChek at the point of care, the assessment's completed, and it's automatically documented into the care management or medication management system, which is very important for the aged care facility. It reduces duplication of efforts. Many of these partners of ours are now working with us, providing us with leads, will collaborate with us in the commercial process, and some are actually moving now into reseller agreements, which actually then shows how flexible our business model is. Great thing about these care management partners in aged care is that many of them also work in home care. So many of them are working now, partner with us to actually bring PainChek into the home environments through the same process. Again, partnerships which can lead to reselling. On the left-hand side there, I mentioned MPS Connect. MPS Connect are actually a subsidiary of Sigma Healthcare in Australia. We've developed a product where PainChek is fully integrated into the MPS Medisphere system, and it's being supplied under standard PainChek commercial terms by MPS into both home care and aged care markets. So that's a commercial reseller agreement fully implemented with MPS, and we ran the training very recently across all Australia. So we're looking for some very good results from that partnership. Question is, how do we get to the global market? Well, I'm using my Cochlear experience. I was head of sales and marketing Europe, and I was head of global marketing at Cochlear, and I was head of global marketing at Roche for their diabetes business. So very simply, in resident aged care, we've got an Australian base, which we'll use the base for Asian market entry. We've now also got a UK base, which will be the base for EU market entry. And this year, while I'm over in the Northern Hemisphere, we're looking to establish a North American base, which allows us entry to Canada now. We've got regulatory clearance, and the US for 2023. And finally, of course, we'll leverage our partners in all these markets. Home care, similar message. Most of our resident aged care clients also have home care packages, so we're working through them and our integration partners. And we're also now building a direct-to-carer sales strategy with medication management partners as well. So partnerships and integrations are critical as a global digital delivery business for both globalization of the residential aged care business and our home care business. I'll move now to the infants. As you know, the infant app is new. It's the world's first technology to assess pain for pre-verbal children. It's run by a very simple 3-second video analysis, and it works on any smart device. We've got regulatory clearance for multiple markets, as we have with the adult, but what's different for the infant is we've got US market entry, a fast-track US market entry, as we've got it through as a clinical decision support tool that was submitted in the last quarter, and that gives us access to the US market during 2022. So a significant milestone for us. 2 key areas we see initially. One is post-vaccination for children. We know that 140 million children receive five immunizations the first year of their life, with COVID-19 will become the 6th. So we know there'll be some pain issues there, and we will have a product ready for both the healthcare professional and the consumer. And the other areas we're looking at is post-operative pain. We're working with Westmead Children's, and again with Melbourne Children's, on some work looking at things like post-tonsillectomy, post-cochlear implantation, to assess pain for infants post-operatively. How we see this working, this next graphic gives you a sort of graphic representation of how we see this working. So an infant, we see as the healthcare professional using PainChek prior to discharge from the clinic, but also educating the mums and dads on pain and how to assess pain and how to see pain. This then gives the option for the mum or dad to get access to PainChek either through the App Store and Google Play Store, or directly with the healthcare professional, to continue to use PainChek Infant at home and to assess pain. If pain persists, the parent's been educated as to how to manage that pain. So this shows you the sort of healthcare professional utility and the home care utility. And we're in discussions with both with our medication management partners and our pharmacy clients in UK and Australia as to how we can get this to market direct to the consumer in an educated and formalized manner. So watch out that space for things develop the next few months. I'll finish off really on this slide, or this slide talks to you about the product plan. We've already got obviously approval for our adult product that covers 40% of the market. And then we see that rolling out further through the year. The home care product is in finalized development, then rolling out through Europe. And then finally, we've got the infant product, which is 1 year of age now. It'll go to 1 to 3 year of age. We're expanding the indications in terms of age, and then the multi-dimensional. If I can just do 2 more quick slides. Thank you to the team, a great team that's developed the products, the commercialization, and also the science behind the technology. Our board, we welcome Cynthia Payne, who's joined us most recently, ex-CEO of a large aged care facility, has a strong home care experience, and she really adds value to our board. Finally, the market cap's around just under 50 mil with 4.7 million of cash and no debt. And this is my last slide. This basically says, look, we are in a very good position as a business. Our goal is to become a global business. We've established in one market, Australia, we've established in the UK, and now we're moving to New Zealand. And we've got a team that can deliver on this. And we're on our route becoming a truly global business. So at that point, I'll stop there and hand over for questions.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for that presentation, Phil. It was great to get a bit of an insight into some of the technologies that you guys are developing. Can you please give us your view on the funding status of the business and whether additional funding is a consideration during 2022?
Look, we would always look at additional funding as and when needed. And the reason for that, obviously, is as I said before, we want to become a global business. And, we've got regulatory clearance now. Also, we've got clearance now for the infant app in the US. We have got clearance for Canada as well. And we see EU as being a growth area. So to get that growth, if we need to raise new capital, then obviously we do that. But obviously, we would do that in the most effective way possible.
Next question is, what is the status of the deal previously mentioned with Philips?
Oh yeah, interesting. The Philips deal, obviously, we're doing really well with them in 2019, and then COVID hit, and everything just stopped from their side as well. I'm back in contact with them. Had a very good call with them last week. Well, here in Europe, I may go to see them over the next week or so. We're discussing a number of options. So I'll just say that look, the communication is still very good. It's opened up again post COVID. And you know, we are talking on a number of fronts, and I think that's all I can say right now.
When is the KPMG study due, and are there any updates or results so far?
Yeah, that's interesting. KPMG study, we've submitted one study back to the government, and that's all looked very good. We both agreed that because of, you know, aged care is still in, you know, still got their challenges in terms of, you know, keeping COVID out of the facilities. So we look now to have the final report done by September. That's an agreement with the Department of Health. But it's all looking very good. The results are looking very positive, and I think that will help government policy in aged care going forwards.
How might a Labor election impact roll out additional government funding?
It's a very good question. I think either party would be good for us, and I think Labour could be very good because obviously they do want to put more money into health and do more money into aged care specifically. So you know, I mean, we've got very good contacts, you know, with Minister Wyatt, who's obviously still in the government, and the teams there, they're all very supportive. Greg Hunt, I know personally very well, so they're really supportive of what we're doing, and I'm sure Labour Party will also be very supportive. So I think, you know, it's a win-win situation for PainChek.
Do you expect the rollouts in other markets to be at a different pace to Australian aged care? And if so, how can the rollout be sped up?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And in fact, the UK now, we're seeing such an acceleration because we are getting such an accept. It took us in Australia 2 to 3 years to get the CMS partners to integrate our product because we were brand new. No one knew us, and it took time. We've got something like 7 or 8 integrations done in the UK in the last 12 months. And those integrations partners are also doing reselling for us. In fact, one of our integration partners just put in a purchase of 1,000 licenses, which they're going to provide directly to their own clients. So I see that model, the integration model, rapidly rising because, you know, it's the way the market evolves, and we're the only pain assessment technology available in the market, the only one.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Phil. And that concludes day 2 of the NWR Virtual Investor Conference Series 11. Thanks to all the participating companies in today's sessions, and look forward to seeing many of you again tomorrow. Thanks, Phil.
And thank you from my standpoint as well. Thank you for taking the time out today, and looking forward to seeing you when you get back to Australia eventually.
Thanks a lot. See ya.
Take care.